Do you actually need the new Lisa Eldridge Micro Pinpoint Concealing Pencil? That is the topic of today's video. I have bought it. It was pretty much an immediate purchase for me, being a fan of Lisa Eldridge. And today we're going to be talking about my experience with it. This has kind of been touted as an incredibly innovative product, but I always think that it is good to take a step back when we are looking so closely at a launch and look at the entire beauty landscape, so that's what we're doing in today's video. I actually have 5 other concealer products that I wanted to compare this one to, so that ultimately you guys can find the best product for you, because it doesn't matter what is going viral, what everyone is purchasing. My job here is to give you guys as much information as possible so that you can find the right product for you. So if you guys enjoy all of the demos, an in-depth look at this new release and comparable products, please make sure to give this video a thumbs up. And hi, my name's Amanda. I would love to have you back if you enjoy it, so consider subscribing. We are first just starting off with the Pinpoint Micro Pencil from Lisa Eldridge. Now, I picked up mine in the shade 3. Now, I do know that by memory, but I wouldn't be able to tell you because whether or not you can see that, the writing on this pencil has already worn off. I have had this product for a little under a week. Definitely surprised by that, I gotta be honest here, especially because Lisa Eldridge's packaging is pretty iconic across the board. It comes in 16 shades. This shade number 3 is pretty perfect for me, especially when it comes to concealing redness. It has a little bit of yellow to it. So for me and my more fair yellow complexion, it just works really, really well. It's a great shade for me. You get 0.014 ounces of product within here, and I think that we have to just talk about this price point, you guys. As a luxury beauty lover, I mean, you guys know me. I consistently purchase the Kogan Aqua Foundation, and before I found it for cheaper on YesStyle, I was paying $100 each time I purchased that, and I never even for a second that it was not worth it. Because for me, and on my channel, if a formula is absolutely insanely good, I will save my money and splurge on that item. I'm at the point in my makeup journey that I just want the best, and I feel really lucky that I'm at that point. So what I'm trying to say here is that I am always willing to splurge on an absolutely incredible product, but price per ounce, you guys, this is nearly $2,500 an ounce. That is absolutely absurd. We're going to get into price points of all of the different products that I'm talking about in today's video, because I think it's really important to put this into context with other products, but I wanted to really quickly do that for you guys right now. You know, this does not have a lot of product, but I don't think that this not having a lot of product within the pencil is necessarily the complete scope of the problem. If they doubled the amount of product that you got within this pencil, it would still cost you around $1,200 an ounce for this concealer. There is not a single concealer on the market that I think is worth that price point. At least, again, you guys know, I will splurge. Just that price point is absolutely absurd. Closest concealer that I was able to find with a similar price point is the Sicily concealer, the Sicily Stylo concealer. Per ounce, that's about $1,300. To get even close to the Sicily, they would have to double the amount of product that you get. Products that have been touted as something very similar as far as insane coverage for a little amount of product, even within the luxury realm, like the Clé de Peau concealer, even that concealer is $441 per ounce. There are other concealers that we're going to talk about today that are more expensive price per ounce to the Clé de Peau. I think it's really important to mention the context of all this, being that Lisa Eldridge is 1, a luxury brand, and 2, an indie brand. I'm comparing her formula to other formulas that have a lot more people and money behind them. But if you're wondering, my stance on the price point of this concealer is that no matter how you spin it, it is an absurd price. For that reason and that reason only, I decided to do this video, because I don't think that anyone should be spending this kind of money on a product like this. It pains me so much to say that, but from this, I've been able to again, try out a bunch of products and give you guys better alternatives. Let's talk about the product and how it actually applies and performs. This is a micro pencil, so you do just screw up the product and you can apply it directly on spots. It does have a sharpener, so you can be very precise. This is the part that I love about this concealer. The microfine tip and how easy it is for a product like this to get thrown into your purse to do touch-ups on the go. And not only that, you know, the pinpoint concealing method that Lisa essentially coined, I mean, this is pretty groundbreaking and kind of changed the way that I did my makeup when I saw the tutorials so many years ago. I mean, I know you beauty lovers or folks that have been on YouTube for a long time, I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with it. I mean, I've watched it too many times to count. This product is pretty perfect for that method. Now, Lisa says that you can use it in so many different ways. You can use it in shadows on your face to add a bit of a brightening effect. You can use it onto blemishes, onto any areas of redness. And also a way that I was really excited to try this product is in the actual tear trough, which you guys know I have more hollow under eyes. I am always here for a very extra kind of routine when it comes to my concealer. So I was like, you know, if this could take away the hollowness under my eyes, I would be incredibly excited about that. My favorite way to utilize the pencil is on blemishes, and specifically any blemishes that I have on my cheeks. Now, my skin is more dry, especially this time of the year, and you guys will notice throughout all of the very, very up close and personal demos is that I have generally dry skin. And for me personally, I always put quality of skin the way, like the general quality of my skin, how it looks texture wise, I put that in front of everything else. If I cover up a blemish, but the blemish then looks a lot drier, I would much rather put on a very light coverage concealer that doesn't dry out the area. For me, texture is number one. Pigmentation comes second. Texture is huge and it actually has a real impact, I think, on the way that makeup looks overall. This texture is not for dry skin. On any of the areas where, for example, I have a very dry pimple right up against my nose. So with all of the nose blowing this time of year, the air is already super, super dry. My skin is already dry. This is just not going to work on dry pimples, and it's not going to work on very dry skin if you want to maintain the overall integrity, like the look of the skin. But on areas like my cheeks, where I don't really have much texture, my skin is more normal, the texture of this is quite tacky and very, very thick. I mean, think of an incredibly long wear eyeliner, except a concealer texture. That is the texture of this concealer, and it works beautifully to conceal pigmentation in that way, and it will absolutely last on the skin. Even if you use this over a foundation, which I personally think you get more coverage out of this product when you're not putting it on top of a foundation. Foundation often adds like a slip kind of thing to the skin. When the product doesn't have something to grab onto, you're going to get less coverage. When you have a very kind of thick, intense product on a really slippy kind of skin tint, this doesn't have as much to grip to compared to bare skin. So my preferred method of using this would be to go in and spot conceal any pigmentation that I have and then go on top with a foundation. That's the way that I would recommend using this if you are going to purchase it. Now, under the eyes, in that little tear trough area that I mentioned, it does offer a nice brightening effect, but because of the texture of this, it's just not something that I would tend to want to reach for. You know, this concealer to me screams celebrity makeup artist, which Lisa Eldridge is. It does not scream everyday makeup purchaser, wearer. This is for those very small makeup details that I think really help a look come together. I love the idea. I actually think that the formula for what it's trying to do is wonderful. I understand the kind of conundrum that the Lisa Eldridge team must have had when they established the price point, is that when you come out with a concealer and you make it 20 bucks and you're a luxury brand, that doesn't necessarily go with your luxury branding. You know what I mean? But let's get into some of the other alternative products. You know, a lot of people are talking about how there is not another concealer on the market like this. Well, you know, for me, whenever I hear that, I immediately go to where the product was manufactured, and this was manufactured in Korea. So we do have a Korean option that I wanted to talk about. I've been testing it now. We also have some drugstore options as well and other professional makeup items. Let's talk about the Peripera Mood Fit Pencil Concealer. Now, this is as close of a dispensing mechanism as you could get. It literally screws up just like the Lisa Eldridge does. It has this pinpoint tip. Now, it's not quite as micro tip fine as the Lisa Eldridge, but I'd argue it could even get sharper because it does have kind of like a slant to it. Either way, I have mine in the shade 03 Cover Beige. It retails for around $9. Something incredibly important to note is that this only has 3 shades. It's a tale as old as time with these Korean shade ranges, though I think the market is getting a lot better. You get 0.0112 ounces, 0.01, 0.35 grams, making this $739 an ounce. Again, keeping in mind that the Lisa Eldridge is still $2,500. So even though that price per ounce seems like a lot, and this is actually the most expensive price per ounce, you have to front less money, and I have to tell you that this is a really, really nice formula. It scribbles onto the skin really seamlessly. As far as all of the formulas that we're talking about, this is one of the closest. It has a great slip to the skin, which I think makes this kind of the ultimate touch-up pencil that you can actually like not feel bad using. So throwing something like this in your purse is the way that I would lead you guys towards. There's also another product that is like one of my absolute favorites we'll talk about in a second. But if you really want that precision of like a pencil and that kind of like just scribble it on the face kind of thing, this does work really well for that. I also find that it looks pretty nice under the eyes if you do want to do that tear trough technique that I mentioned before. It's very smoothing and it is way easier to use if you have more dry skin. Now, it does conceal blemishes pretty easily, but because of the texture, this kind of slip that it has, it's not going to last as long on those blemishes at really concealing them. What I would highly, highly recommend you guys do if you want to use something like this, if you want to use any of the concealers that I'm talking about and you want to get more coverage out of them, you just apply this all over the skin in any of those pinpoint areas that you want to and just let it sit, let it hang out, especially on those areas with like intense pigmentation, like a very red blemish. Areas where I have those post-acne marks, I just apply this, completely let it sit, and then blend it out, and I'm getting way more coverage. I feel like the texture of the Lisa Eldridge, you know, that kind of eyeliner texture, can be more easily achieved, or you can get more of a similar effect when you just let a concealer kind of dry and set down. Lisa Eldridge is essentially that kind of texture in a tube, so it's like a concealer that's already dried down. It's a very intense kind of texture, and I think that this is just going to be easier for every day for most folks. Finish is still more of this kind of soft matte finish. The Lisa Eldridge is definitely more of a true matte. A lot of silicones, so it has that kind of smooth look on the skin. I just personally, for me, think that this pencil is where I would lead anyone to. I will say I have other options with better shade ranges to talk about, but I knew that I was going to get questions about this product. Another product that's kind of in the same vein is a product from Same, which is another Korean brand, and that's more of a kind of sharpener pencil concealer product. I have ordered that one to test out as well. But let's jump into the Asian beauty product that is my top recommendation for this kind of pinpoint concealing method. It's from one of my favorite Japanese beauty brands, which is Canmake. This texture, out of all the textures we're talking about, I think is the most similar to the Lisa Eldridge. It's the Canmake Color Mixing Concealer. This is the number 3 option. This is a little concealer palette. You open it up, you have the light, natural, and dark shade. You actually even have a little bit of a mixing space, and on top of that, you have a mirror. So as far as touch-ups, this is amazing to put into a purse and a bag. But you guys, it gets better. I'm so freaking excited about this product. You get a double-ended brush that goes right into the palette. You have a thin brush that works beautifully to kind of just like lay into the tear trough, or even just like quickly blend something on the skin. But then you get this tiny little sponge applicator. Now, it's not just like your typical foam eyeshadow applicator. It is ultra precise, even more precise than the Lisa Eldridge's, which makes it absolutely iconic for just putting into the concealer and then tapping directly on a blemish, a little bit around it, just to kind of just give it a true lifelike effect. This one looks really nice under the eyes. There's one more that I recommend even more for dry skin, but I think anyone with a normal skin type, I mean, I have dry skin, I still love it. I think you will just really, really appreciate this one. You have a little bit more flexibility with the mixing of shades. I think that that's always a good option. Again, still not a good shade range. I gotta tell you guys though that this is one of my favorite products that I found so far this year. My favorite Asian beauty concealer that I have tried. And I have tried a lot and really disliked quite a lot, I'll be honest. You guys know how picky I am. This one has been my favorite. I'm so excited that I tried it. And again, the applicator in here with the mirror, game changer. Oh my god, I almost forgot to talk about the price point. And there are 3 different shade options to choose from within the palettes. It's around $12 and you get 0.14 ounces, not 0.014, 0.14 ounces, which makes this one of the most affordable concealers, if not the most affordable. Yeah, this is the most affordable concealer in the entire video at $85 an ounce. It is really, really good. Definitely one of my first recommendations. But I will say that there's one product I'm about to talk about. I mean, should I just talk about it now? That I like a little bit more. And I think that that is like partially the reason for that is that I've had it longer, tested it for longer, and have consistently really loved it. It is the RCMA Favorites palette. This is essentially a foundation concealing palette. So talk about a true multifunctional item. This has 5 different shades to really customize a foundation, then like a highlight shade under the eyes. I want something a little bit warmer on certain areas. You can truly get that with this. This also has a much better shade range than the Canmake does. And I think that there's even an olive palette for all of you olive toned folks out there. Now this, as far as texture goes, it's more emollient, and yet it's not a really dewy finish. It just has a little bit more slip. I think there's more like wax to the formula than Lisa Eldridge does have. But the only concealer foundation I'm wearing on my skin right now is this palette. And actually in one of the last videos I posted, I think that was also the case too. You know, I've been mentioning that wearing concealer only all over the face was going to become a trend for this year. And I don't think that you can really go wrong making this the item that gets you there. Really nice medium coverage right off the bat that you could build up to more of a full coverage. But again, I think it's really important because of this texture, because it does have more creaminess than, you know, the Lisa Eldridge does have. On those spots you really, really want a lot of coverage, take it, apply it, let it sit, then blend it out. And I think that you will get more concealer coverage that way. There are, I believe, 5 different palette shades that you could choose from. Around $30 for the palette, which is really not much. Get about, let's see, 0.35 ounces of product in here, making it around $85 an ounce. I believe there's also 5 different shade palettes to choose from. Mine is the KA. If you have a similar skin tone to me, highly recommend this one. Around the same price point per ounce as the Canmake, and I think the formulas are so similar. Else I wanted to very briefly mention is that I hope you guys enjoy all of the up close footage of my actual face with me applying this. If you appreciate those kinds of demos, definitely make sure to give this video a thumbs up. And if you are any of the people that like to comment on dry skin, on hair, on pores, on anything like that, please feel free to go watch someone else that filters their skin, but that's never going to be me. I don't find footage like that helpful. Anyway, side note on that. Let's jump into a couple of drugstore options. The NYX Pro Fix Stick. The reason I wanted to try out this one to see if I could recommend it is it has a slant. So this kind of slant is going to be able to kind of get in that tear trough area a little bit easier. And I was really interested in finding a product that would work well for that. Also, you could just take it on its side and, you know, just swipe it on the skin easily as well. You know, it's not going to be as precise though as the Lisa Eldridge. Now, I picked up mine in the shade Vanilla, I believe. Definitely more of a golden tone, so more comparable to the Lisa Eldridge shade. This works really well, I think, on larger areas of redness and on blemishes. It just has kind of a smoothing effect. Not going to be the most forgiving on very dry skin. I think that, you know, because of this texture, it's not the first I would recommend for dry skin. But I also think with, just using a brush, a pinpoint brush with this product, swept on certain areas, or even using a fluffy brush to kind of sweep over the skin, I actually think that this is quite nice. There are also 24 shades. It retails for around $9. I think it's kind of underrated. You get 0.05 ounces, so it's not quite as much. That makes it around $179 an ounce. But personally for me, I think for anyone that just wants to really quickly swipe on, like maybe on the cheeks, a couple of spots, and then blend out, not necessarily use this all the time under the eyes, I can see you really enjoying this. I like the shade range a lot. You know, as far as what you can go and pick up at your local drugstore, this is the one that I would recommend. I would not recommend the True Match Blendable Concealer. This is one of those iconic concealers that I've tried out so many of these over my concealer wearing journey. You know, when I was a lot younger and I would go into the drugstore and like beg my mom to purchase a concealer for me to try because my under eyes were so dark, and all of the concealers just looked awful under my eyes, even at age like 14. This was like my nemesis. This kind of formula was always my nemesis because on first swipe you're like, oh, that has good coverage, you know, it should be able to conceal, but it reflects light in this really greasy way and then blends out so quickly that you're left with less coverage and almost like this greasy kind of scaly look. I know that some of you guys will be able to understand what I'm talking about. Like that greasy, no coverage, but very apparent kind of product look. For me, it just is not a formula that I could recommend. Looks weird on dry skin, like the skin looks both dry and waxy and shiny. Just not a good look, really. 0.1 ounces for $9, so, you know, the formula and the performance isn't there, then to me, I'm just like, it's a skip, it's a skip. $89 an ounce. I don't even know why I keep talking about it, because I can't recommend it necessarily. You guys knew I had to bring you options. So let's just do a quick little recap for you guys. You know, my top recommendations are the Canmake and the RCMA, like I mentioned before. Using the RCMA with a pinpoint brush will give you a nice medium coverage. Just let the concealer sit before you blend it out. I also think that the Canmake is an excellent choice as well. If you really want that stick formula to like just scribble right onto a blemish under the eyes, I think that you should go with the Peripera. Obviously, if you have a shade that you can actually use. Again, tale as old as time here. Again, as far as the drugstore goes for these kind of products, I would go with the NYX Pro Fix Stick. Taking it just like this onto like a blemish or a freckle and just letting it sit, let it hang out, go and do the rest of your makeup. And even don't really blend it too much when you go in with your foundation, and you're getting pretty much the same effect. Like, so watch, we have that product right there on my hand. This is a pretty dark freckle. So we're just gonna let it sit and hang out, and I'm gonna actually take a bit of foundation and apply it over so you can see what I'm talking about. This hasn't even been hanging out that long, but this is the Oh So Beautiful Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Foundation. I'm just gonna take a little bit onto the brush. It's really not much on that brush. And blend it right, kind of stipple it over the skin. Again, so you're getting light coverage everywhere, but do you see how you still can't see that freckle? We haven't removed the coverage because we've just been stippling it on. Using a technique like that is also another option. Now I have foundation all over my hand. I really hope I remember that. And yeah, don't buy a L'Oreal stick. Just take it from me. You don't need it. I did want to quickly mention the Jones Road pencil. You know, I have not personally used that product. I know a lot of people have been saying just get the Jones Road instead of the Lisa Eldridge pencil. I think that that is also another option. Now maybe you just want something to kind of pinpoint concealer, just draw on the face in general, and then I think that that would be a good option. But if you're really looking for that true like high pigment with more of a very, very matte finish, I don't think that you're going to get that with the Jones Road. You know, it's really good, I think, to keep all of these things in mind. Me personally, I'm going to be reaching for the RCMA and the Canmake. These kind of formulas, you know, even just looking at the ingredients lists, they're gonna have a little bit more longevity opposed to the Jones Road. And you're not sacrificing the quality look of your skin. So you guys, I hope this video was helpful. Please let me know down below if it was. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you did enjoy it, and I will see you in my next one.